All right. Morning, everyone. Thanks, John. Appreciate that. My name is Brian Danzis. I lead global video and now live events for Spotify. And with me today is Brad Greeley, who is our head of West Coast sales. I'm not going to walk you through a sales pitch today, but did want to talk a little bit about what we're doing, both with video and the key theme of my presentation here, the responsibility to the audience. We were at the cocktail party last night, and a couple people came up to me and were kind of surprised to hear that Spotify was, interested in sponsoring a video event. And I said, "You're a music platform." And you're right, we are a music platform. We're the world's largest music streaming platform. 207 million monthly active users using our service, 105 of those per Comscore in December. We're in 78 countries. More people spend time on our mobile app in the US, the UK, and a number of other markets around the world than they do social streaming services or video streaming services or even search. Think about that. The number one app for time spent on a daily basis is Spotify. So we think that we are a different type of platform. We're not just about music and audio tracks. We're about discovery and exploration, and we provide our users new ways to explore artists and culture and art. And a lot of times video complements that audio experience. We've ingested over 10,000 music videos into the platform. Like that one. We have fresh editorial in our premiere playlist that we shoot in our studio in LA. We have content that overlays static cover art, visual content. You can check out where your favorite bands are playing. You can buy merch. You can do a lot of things on our platform that just isn't listening to music. And therefore, we think that video ads are appropriate for our platform because we're not just this digital radio, digital streaming service. And that underpins our entire strategy that we have a responsibility to our audiences to be respectful, to be thoughtful, and to add to that experience with sponsorship, not take away from it. So that's what I want to talk about today, our responsibility to the audience, and frankly, all of our responsibility, I think, to users of publishers and users of services to do the right thing, as Spike Lee said last night at the Oscars. But I'll start off with a kind of a bold statement, and that's that, come on, baby. Consumers hate advertising. Now, this advertising puts food on our table. It pays for our kids' colleges. But let's not kid ourselves. We're not solving the world's problems here. And a lot of people dislike what we do. You hear about it talking to friends in the outside of the industry, talk about it over holiday dinners with your families. We have a problem on our hands. And there are a lot of people out there that just do whatever they can to avoid ads on platforms. In fact, there was a study run by WPP a few years ago that found 10 to 20% of consumers avoid ads at all costs, actively turning their heads away in disgust, frankly, from the ads that we clutter around the entertainment platforms. Why is this? What is causing this kind of backlash against our industry? Well, I'd submit it's a couple of reasons. One, it's simply ad clutter. We've put ads in more places and created more ad formats than ever before. And we're placing these ads in places where people wouldn't expect to see them. I mean, over the years, we've talked about innovations like Outstream. Publishers can now monetize with the fastest growing ad format of video by placing them where they didn't have video assets in the first place. Wait, really? You're going to put a video ad where there wasn't video content and a page where people wouldn't expect to see it? Is that really the right thing to do? Right, we've talked about VOD and how consumers are shifting to this kind of on-demand world. VOD was great 3 years ago when you only had to watch one pre-roll for a long episode of content, and now you've got full commercial loads in it, right? And these, Flo and Jan and Jill are everywhere now, right? That's a problem. Second piece is the high ad load that is an issue for a lot of platforms, right? Especially in these scrolling and swiping platforms. But I come from the TV world, so I'll poke a little fun at our friends in the FVPs, declining TV ratings and fluidity buying has led to increased commercial loads, almost mirroring that of linear television now on those digital companion sites. And oftentimes when you want to go watch a show on a full episode player, you have to watch a pre-roll. And then you'll get, ad 1 of 6, and there's usually 4 pods, so 6 spots per pod. Usually you get about 12 and a half minutes per hour of television commercials in, these players. Long gone are the days of Hulu where it's 1 advertiser per 1 episode, right? That's how they launched back almost 11 years ago now. And the challenge with this, too, is have you ever gone to bed at night and in the middle of an episode on linear and try and catch up the next morning? Well, you watch the pre-roll, and then you fast forward to the spot you thought you left off on, and then you watch the 6 ads. And you're not really sure where you left off. You were a little too soon, and then you fast forward again, and you get the same 6 ads again, right? It's a bad consumer experience. And forget about, moving your browser or pulling even your headphones out, right? They force viewability on you. Because if they didn't, their viewability scores would be poor because people would be tuning it out. This is a big problem. I don't think enough people talk about it. Linda Yaccarino's talking about it in this year's Upfront, but she's talking about linear television. No one's talking about the full episode players. And then the recycling of ads, frequency management is another issue. Right? Marketing 101, we all learned the equal distribution of ads and the optimal frequency that we have is typically around 7, though there's been some new research on that. And when you build a media plan, this is generally what you want, right? That sweet spot in there to generate ad recall and awareness is about 7 to 9. And the CEO of Mighty Hive put out this research about a year ago, and he found when they digged into the logs and looked at the real distribution of ads to individuals, and again, using cookies and walled gardens, it's challenging to do this, the actual distribution ended up like this. You had a bulk of the impressions only delivered to one or 2 times to users, and then a huge bulk, 50%, people saw over 30 times. So you're not in that sweet spot. You're on either end of the spectrum. And again, that's a big challenge. So is there any surprise why there's a rise in streaming services that are actually not supported with ads? The Netflixes, the Amazon Primes of the world, I know there's discussion to put ads into that. Is that really what they want to do? I think there's been a lot of consumer backlash already on that. I know they're investing heavily in content and whatnot, but that is a pure and clear choice for users to subscribe to these services where they don't have to watch ads. And then, of course, we all know about ad blocking. There's 75 million ad blockers in the US, primarily a millennial trend, but all generations are using ad blockers. I bet a lot of people in this room are using ad blockers. So if we're not careful, right, we are going to do serious harm to our industry. We don't think about the user, and we just bombard them with ads over and over again. So as we shift to this world where marketers want more outcomes, and yet we at these conferences talk heavily about driving media outcomes, high completion rates, strong viewability, which we force on people, are we going to drive those same results that those marketers are craving? Are we going to drive purchase intent? Are we going to drive people to actually do things that we want? And again, I would submit that if we're not careful of the user experience, we're going to drive them away. So Spotify has some ideas, naturally, about how to do this, both on our platform and the data that we leverage to speak to users in a more eloquent and respectful way. I'm going to take you through a couple of case studies of what we've been working on. The first is a core ad format that we pioneered about 4 years ago. It's called Sponsored Sessions. And it's an ad format that essentially, after playing a playlist and activating it, you would get an opportunity to watch an ad, and then we won't interrupt you for the next 30 minutes. This has been something that's rewarded video. It's been something the mobile industry and the mobile gaming publishers have been exploiting for a number of years. But this is really the first time when we launched a couple of years ago that a premium publisher was engaging this type of reduced ad load sponsorship for advertisers, actually creating that experience for users. So if you just click on that for me, give you a quick example of what this looks like. Essentially, someone goes into a workout playlist, they click workout, they hit shuffle play, and then they're cued with.
Watch this short video to get 30 minutes of uninterrupted listening.
Now, what we can do here, too, is provide the right context. In this case,
go hard for the next 30 minutes.
You're about to go into a workout playlist. So I've got a workout-themed ad here. Right?
Enjoy the next 30 minutes of
so
uninterrupted
knowing
listening.
the kind of mood and the moment a user is in, I can provide the right context and naturally the right ad. That's just a fig how that works. So, we've run a lot of research with sponsored sessions. We've run Nielsen brand effect studies. We've run our own focus groups, and we found that awareness is high, recall is high, most important, likability is high. And that was the kind of proudest moment for us of when we saw that people actually liked this. It added to the experience. It didn't take away from it. Another tactic we have is using the power of multimedia. Spotify is available on 300 different devices, from Xboxes and PlayStations and streaming boxes and connected cars and all types of other different devices with speakers and screens. But we want to, again, deliver the right message into those screens and, again, leverage our data and understanding of people to customize that creative in an intelligent way. So the Spanish automaker SEAT came to us about a year ago and said, look, we want to relaunch this Ibiza model. We want to reach young people, but we want to do it in a kind of cool way, and we want to know that we're speaking to them and all the different subsets of that generation in an intelligent fashion. So what we did was we allowed people and users to create and understand what their own mobility score was. Now, Spotify tracks about 30 different types of data that underlies our music tastes, from the lyrics to the valence to the danceability of your music, the tempo of it, the nostalgia that you listen to. So we looked at that danceability, and everyone has a danceability score of your music that you like to listen to. Mine is actually very low. And we allowed people to understand what their danceability score was, and then we assigned it, right, to the proper model of this different customizations of this Ibiza model, and then we ran them in different spots. So these ads are a little bit different, and every user got a different one based on what their danceability score was. It was really cool. Another iteration of this that we ran about 6 months ago was when you moved off the path of what you typically listen to. For example, say you listen to a lot of rock music like myself, and you tend to suddenly find yourself listening to classical music. Well, the next ad you may see be a Snickers ad says, "You're not you when you're hungry." So there's different things you can do here, right, that are subtle, using the power of data, that aren't creepy, but again, allows for the proper context of message with content. And we also have a lot of custom capabilities. And this is something that our brands typically come to us with. They want to do something with artists. We have artists coming into our offices all the time. They record music, they do interviews, we talk to them. And sometimes we come up with some organic ways for them to talk about brands. We've had bands come in and talk about life experiences and how insurance companies can help protect, those experiences and ambition and things like that. Well, Sephora came to us and said they want to sponsor, they were really into festivals, and they want to work with an artist to talk about how they prepare for festivals. This grew out of an idea we had originally called Bag Check, where we would talk to an artist what they had in their bag, right? Their journal, their headphones, maybe it was a facial cleanser or something like that. So this is an example of what we did with the emerging artist Moons and what we did last summer with Sephora. Does that player have to click it again?
To stand out in a crowd, I always rock a bold statement-making look. Whether it's on the stage, backstage, or rocking out in general admission. I love to go bold, from my eyes to my lips to my hair. But of course, I always keep it classic me. I'm Moons, and this is how I get festival ready.
So it's cool, that's an ad, right? And it runs as a sponsored session or other mid-roll type ads that we run. They put it on their social channels, and it was a really great execution for them. So we're doing a lot of these. They're easy to produce. We have the artists. As long as it makes sense, we love to produce them. And then the final bit I'll give you is, that's just some more examples of that, is trust, right? So I feel like every week we're reading in a Media Post article or somewhere else, data issues, privacy issues, data breaches, is a scary world out there. The YouTube issues last week, and I think Facebook had some news as well. Brands trust Spotify. And we took the poll of our audiences using this company called YPulse. And we wanted to understand, look, we do a lot with data. We do a lot of personalization with playlists in our marketing campaigns. We want to make sure that people actually do trust us with their data to program the right things and not be creepy. And we came back with some great results here that people do trust us, and we can be playful with our use of data, and people still respond positively. And this is important because this trust transfers over to our brands. If they're not going to trust us, they're not going to trust the brands that are sponsoring our services. So we're really proud of that. In fact, every year we run this Wrapped campaign, and we poke fun at pockets of users that may be creating playlists or streaming songs, that are a little outside the norm. And another streaming company tried to copy that a year ago, and they got crushed in the press for it, saying they're creepy and how do they do this? And again, I think Spotify has that trust, and we have that responsibility with our audiences, so we can be, we can do some fun things. That's my presentation. Everything we do on our platform, we do in a respectful way. We have a very large audience. We have to do things very purposefully. Video ads are not going to make sense in every type of environment. Video ads are not going to make sense when I've got a phone strapped to my arm and I'm going for a jog. Video ads are not going to make sense when I'm in the car. It would be dangerous, right? But there are times, and as an app, I know when the service is in the foreground and in focus and people are engaged. I don't deliver video ads on Spotify when you're listening to Spotify and you're in Instagram. That wouldn't be appropriate either. So it's about context. It's about respectfulness. It's about keeping the interruptions to a minimum. And then when you do have to interrupt with a traditional ad break or something similar, you do it with the proper context in a way that adds to the service. That's the way we think about sponsorship and brands on our services. And we encourage you to think that way as well, so we can protect our great industry and do a service for our clients. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you over the next couple of days.